prompt. The industry is changing, I think is so very true to what we're learning and teaching and using in today's technology. I mean, you are gathering information from the past, using it today to better change the future for tomorrow. And I think when we look at that from a classroom setting, the world is ever so changing. So our industry, of course, is ever so changing. And not only is our industry changing, our industry in itself is growing smaller. It's depleting by the minute. But our world is growing rapidly by the second. And I think that is such an eager thing to look at that we also have to take back in our industry. It's ever so changing. Because if our industry wasn't ever so changing and we weren't allowing the advancements and the growth and the change, we wouldn't be able to feed the next generation. And so I think when we look back at the word the industry is ever so changing, it is, just like the world. And when we look back at, the world is ever so changing, we have to sit back and realize technology has got us to a point of growth. If you look back, way back when, our ancestors were farming, we didn't farm, or we don't currently farm with horses, but they did. And they started that era of growth. You have the technology advancements and, the testing, the science, the background, the studies, everything that leads into what our industry is ever so changing. And I often think, oh my, the steer that won in 2000 is not the steer that would be winning today. But the steer that probably won in 2000 was their next biggest thing. And now we look back today and the steers that we have now, we're like, what can we do better? How can we have a higher yield grade? How can we have this? And how can we have that? And it all is because our industry has changed. And it has looked at from, EPDs to numbers to genetic testing of, this one's bad, this one's good. We can take this one and we can take a piece of this animal. We can put it together and we can make something great. And I often always think, everything is always changing. And especially the world we live in today. New advancements and new of this and new of that. And I often just sit there and I'm like, okay, what is the next thing I can do, even for myself, to make it better? And so when we use the term that the industry is ever so changing, I think we also look at it as what can we do better through the change? What change can we do to make the next best, animal that yields great, that has a high milk quality, but what also can we do to our equipment and our seed yield grades to feed America? Because we're not going to have all these resources as our population of farmers deplenishes. And, we can preach and teach to all these younger generations the importance of agriculture, but getting them out hands-on is our problem. But what we can do is we can work with the younger generation, the importance of agriculture and the importance of what we need to feed America is we can teach everyone that every impact and piece that they have in the industry is crucial. You could be ingraining in a kid's mind that engineering is so important, and that kid could go on to be an ag engineer and make the next greatest tractor to, implement higher yield grades and, faster times that we need. And so you look back at the industry is ever so changing, and I truly think that at a point in our life, it's going to start in the classroom. And that's when it falls back on us, ag teachers or future ag teachers, or even younger generations. And so I look at it from my standpoint of, I want my classroom to be ever so changing, and I want the industry to have such an impact on students. Not that I want all students to go out and start a farm. That would be amazing, but it's not humanly possible. And I want to be able to ingrain in their minds that agriculture is ever so important, but it's ever so changing. And the impacts that they make today are going to be the impacts made in the future. It's going to easily allow us to impact each and every student to go out and do what they want. You're going to need the engineer, the truck driver, the, industry leader, the businessman, the accountant. And I think it's all going to start in the ag classrooms that these kids start in, not teaching them about just the basic generalization of you should be a farmer or future farmers of America. Yes, is each and every person part of agriculture. Every aspect that every person does is part of agriculture. And I truly think that starting out in the classroom with an industry that is so changing, and we have an impact on those students. Teaching kids all aspects of agriculture is important, and what career field they go into could be very crucial to the ag industry. And just ingraining in their minds that the importance of what we do today is going to impact us tomorrow and the next and the next. And I think impacting students in your classroom by teaching them the importance is only going to be the beneficial resource to them. Giving them the opportunities to see, a feed mill working hand in hand, that kid might think, oh, engineer, and I truly think it starts in ag classrooms in high schools, because that teacher has the resources of understanding that the industry is ever so changing. We can learn, we can grow, and we can teach. And the most important part is we can teach. We can impact lives that will impact us forever. And I know I hear students say, oh, the ag classroom, it's not, it's not for me. But it's like, where did you eat? Where did your food come from? It came from agriculture. It came from a farmer that spent his hard-earned time and money to grow food for you to successfully eat. Whether it's, growing corn in a field that fed a cow that gave you the hamburger that is on your plate today, it all happens through the cycle of agriculture. And I think with an industry ever so changing, making sure that is aware and known to all youth and individuals, even adults that have no clue, teaching them that agriculture starts from somewhere, but it has to be ever so changing for it to be successful. And I think as well as using your outside resources outside of your classroom, no ag teacher has every resource in the back of their mind that's going to successfully help them teach kids. It's bringing those kids out into the actual industry and teaching them and helping them and guiding them and showing them what's out there, providing those hands-on learning opportunities, job shadowing and career classes. This is how an operator works. This is an ag engineer. This is an engineer. Oh, you want to do accounting? This is how books work. This is how money comes in and goes out. And, you want to do embryologists, you go this route. And I think having those classrooms that provide that while using your outside resources. So, for an example, your advisory committee. Your advisory committee, you could go to them and be like, here's what I would like, in my intro to ag class, I want to teach about careers in ag and careers in ag that are accessible for all and not kids that just come from farming backgrounds. Because today, the farms are diminishing. And you're not going to have as many kids that come from, 4th, 5th generation farms. So giving them the opportunity in your classroom might be your best resource. And reaching out to your advisory committee, because they're part of your community, and they're going to be able to provide and show you the resources that you may need to be fully successful to showing these kids all these examples. I think the importance of getting kids out there, getting kids in hands-on, not reading out of a book. Books are so outdated some days, and honestly, we probably don't have the funds to keep updating our books like the industry is ever so changing. You're not going to get a new book every year that says, oh, this tractor and this piece of equipment is now being used. Getting those kids to the implement dealerships or, getting them places that is updated with our times, I think is going to be the most crucial part to be successful in aiding in the industry that is ever so changing. I think being a resource for students outside of your ag classroom is going to be able to help you have that successful industry is ever so changing. I think just providing resources and examples and opportunities for all students, whether they are part of the ag industry, hands-on or not, they are part of the ag industry as a whole. And they make an impact whether or not there's food on the table And so being able to show them where their food comes from and also providing career opportunities to aid in the industry that is ever so changing, especially like the egg industry. If we don't continue to change and watch growth now, we're never going to be able to look back and say, oh, we can feed, this many billions of people off of this small crop of land, because technology hadn't changed. We look back and we think, the industry has changed. It has so much, and it continues to. And we have to keep ourselves up to date for our students and for our future generations.